Today on Across the Fence, get a bird's eye view of life in Vermont and make tweeting fun again. It's time for Bird Notes with Mark LaBarr from Audubon, Vermont. Hello, Vermont. If there's anything that makes me sad at this time of year, and trust me, it's hard to be sad during a Vermont summer, it's that the number of students I get to bring on the show dips. But, Mark, you have been enjoying lots of time with students this summer because of this great internship that UVM has with Audubon. And this month, I think that's what you wanted to talk about. So how's it going?
Yeah, Audubon Vermont has had a great partnership with UVM over the years. A number of different facets, including with the extension and Across the Fence and the Bird Notes show.
Yep.
And over the past 3 years, I've been really fortunate to work with the UVM class, and I gotta get this right, the Fellowship for Restoration Ecologies and Culture.
Such a cool one.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. It's a class which focuses an entire year over at the Karst Natural Area in Heinsberg. And so I've been able to go and work with these students, and the past 3 years I've been fortunate that UVM has provided a student to join me on my rounds, so to speak, as I go out and do my conservation work.
Yeah, so you've had one of these FREC students, and I do want to say I think that the program is so cool because it's a really great example of that. We always talk about like hands-on experiential learning, and this is really learning by doing. These students are in the field, and you've had one dedicated with you then this summer.
Yes, so you're right. These students get to be out at the natural area, at least once a week. Throughout the year, so it's 2 semesters, and so can really, like you said, that hands-on stuff, which is what I love to do, and what I'm able to do. This is Fallon Forrest. This is my summer student I had this year from UVM. And she basically joined me on my conservation rounds, as I said, doing various different projects that many of which we've talked about here on Across the Fence.
Yeah, I have to say that I think Fallon Forrest is one of the coolest names that I have ever heard. She sounds like she was born and raised to do naturalist work. Also, Fallon sounds like falcons, so birds, very well suited. Talk about some of the things that she's been doing with you.
So Fallon is from Vermont, so she's from Morrisville, and so she's joined me on pretty much everything. Going up to the Tern Islands, the common tern, a state endangered species, work that I've done for years. Here's Fallon, duly protected with her hood up because those terns can dive on you.
I was wondering about that because I knew that this was taken from summer research, and yet you guys are pretty swaddled in these coats.
So we start in May, and the lake can still be cold, but this is, the terns will come down and peck you on your head if you're too close to their nest.
Okay. Well, and here she is with the chicks.
The terns on Papa Squash did really good this year. We found a number of chicks. And so Fallon, when she's up on the island, gets to hear me yell a lot of data to her, various different things. So she's been helping me with that. It's just great to have a second when you're out and about collecting that information. So terns were one thing. Then, during the summer, one of the, I'm a bird bander. I handle small birds for, it's part of my job.
Right.
And it's great for me to transfer some of that knowledge to somebody else. So Fallon joined me on a couple of projects in which that's what we did. One of those last month we talked about the golden-winged warbler. And so Fallon, here she is with a golden-winged warbler out in the field.
And is this at the site of the restoration project too?
This is not at the Karst Natural Area, but we did catch birds at the Karst Natural Area as well. So Fallon has become very proficient at handling small birds, banding them, catching them, and so again, a great help to have a second in the field. And again, constantly collecting data.
Data.
So organizing data. Fallon has a great organizational head, a little bit better than mine probably. And so
she's just a little younger.
And she's just a little bit younger. And then, of course, the exciting stuff. This is a fecal sample from I think this was at Karst from a Brewster's warbler. Which is a hybrid between a golden wing and a blue wing. And we're collecting fecal samples for a diet study that the University of Maine is doing.
Oh, very Very cool.
So one of the things that we had to do was catch these warblers and put them in a bag with some coffee filters and then scoop poop out afterwards.
So it's basically catch the birds, wait for them to poop, collect the sample,
hope that they
go
poop.
back, do a data.
Sometimes we had
okay.
one bird that we put him in the bag, the usual thing with the coffee filters, didn't poop, we released it. And we saw it land, and it immediately pooped. So,
well, they don't poop on demand.
They don't poop
I
on
guess
demand.
they are indeed
but
wild
we did get a number of samples. So, a little interesting twist for her to be doing fecal work on these birds. But very important because this data will hopefully be included with some other states that will show what these birds are eating.
Yeah.
We now have the technology to do that.
Speaking of technology, so you've been working on like the nano programs, right, with the wood thrushes, and she got to do a little bit with that too.
Yeah, so again, something we've talked about here. We put nano tags on wood thrushes, small little transmitters that are picked up as part of a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service program. This was the second year and last year of that program, but our job was to try to find those birds. We tried to put the tags on near these towers that pick them up, but some of them were a little bit farther out. So Fallon and I put up our mobile antenna system, and you can see Fallon here. We've got the antenna strapped to the top of my truck, and Fallon's got the headphones on to see whether or not we get a hit, a little buzz on the thing letting us know a bird is there, or we're out wandering with a handheld antenna.
Waiting to see what you pick up?
Waiting to see what we can pick up and then add to the data that we've already collected on the birds that have gone down south and back.
So which is essentially helping you put together like maps or something of their movement?
So the way the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, they've done this across the wood thrush range over the last 2 years, and about more than 1,000 of these tags have gone out. So they'll be able to take that data and get a better understanding of migratory routes for this declining species, and hopefully that will aid in their full life cycle conservation.
Very good work. Okay. Banding station at the Audubon Center.
So yeah, so every year we run, I think this is my 29th year running a monitoring avian productivity and survivorship banding station, part of a network of more than 500 stations across North America. To collect data in a similar way so that the Institute of Bird Populations can analyze survivorship, productivity, how many young are getting off. And so we run that station 7 times. And as I said, Fallon has been my partner in all of this. Here we are at the banding station.
There she is, yep, and the blue vest.
Yep, and we had a volunteer from Audubon, Texas, who was a bander, join us that day. So she spent, we're going to be on our 6th one this coming week. And like I said, she's been great, from setting up the nets to banding the birds. I hardly even band the birds anymore. I just sit there and let Fallon go to town.
Yeah, and so this is, what kind of bird is it that she's
So
got
this
here?
is a scarlet tanager, and I probably should have added a close-up picture of it, but this is a really good bird for us at Audubon.
Okay.
They're around, but they tend to stay very high in the canopy, so they don't fly down into our mist nets. So
this was a good catch.
This was a very good
Literally.
catch, yes, yes. So,
and the way that it is sitting there on her finger, I mean, I have to ask, like, why is it being so calm?
So there's a couple of different ways of holding birds.
Okay.
One is called the bander's grip, where you have your hand around the bird, and this is called the photographer's grip. So Fallon is actually holding the bird's feet or legs.
Okay.
And oftentimes a bird will just sit there while you're doing that, and that's called the photographer's grip.
Well, I can see why. I mean,
yeah.
she looks like Snow White or something there, sitting in there having a great conversation with the bird. And so you've even had some of your former interns come and check back in with you. It looks
Correct.
like.
So again, here we are at the banding station, and there's Fallon, and next to her is Pete Patrick, who was my FREC student from last year, who helped me with all these same things that Fallon has, and he's still here in Vermont, so he's joined us at the banding station, and always good to, I'm a conservation biologist, but also an educator.
Yeah.
And as an educator, to be able to see folks that you've worked with move forward with what they want to do is it's really exciting.
Well, it's really rewarding.
It's rewarding.
Yeah,
too,
I mean, it's the full cycle, you know, because you're starting to see what the next generation of researchers, the people who are going to continue to carry on this work, you know how they've been trained, you have relationships with them, and you know, it's the transference of trust.
And I still hear from my old intern, Devin, who has been traveling around and doing all sorts of projects. She keeps in touch with me.
That's
so
cool.
in many ways, I live vicariously through these students throughout the year.
We have the greatest picture, too, I think, of you and Fallon. This is like a very sweet one of the two of you. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. I may have even taken this selfie. Not that I'm a selfie taker, but this is the two of us up on Papasquash Island.
Very cute.
And probably midsummer, the turns did, like I said, pretty good this year. So, but yeah, Fallon and I, you know, I have a tendency to chat a little bit, and so
no, I can't believe it.
Fallon and I, she put up with a lot of my stories, and so I give her a lot of credit for that.
Well, and I should say that, you know, Fallon is a bit camera shy herself. Because, you know, lest you think that we're like talking on and on and on about Fallon, why don't we just bring Fallon on? Fallon, like an elusive bird, would prefer to stay in the treetops.
Yeah, she was perfectly fine having me do this show.
To talk about her instead, kind of in absentia.
We all have different strengths.
Yes, we do. Well, and she's obviously had a really great time working with you. Real quick question for you, because we only have like about a minute left.
Okay.
Why am I hearing so many J's and things like that right now?
So
that's what I'm mostly hearing.
Yeah, it's an interesting time, transition time. Birds are now finishing up the breeding season, right? They're beginning to transition into the fall. They're beginning to flock up a little bit. The jays not only are getting back together, but they have they have young around too, and there's communication back and forth. We've been hearing the young ravens call to the adult ravens. I've been hearing a lot of chickadees doing the chickadee-dee-dee, which is their call versus their song. So we're in a transition period where the birds are done breeding, or mostly done, starting to molt their feathers. Some are getting ready to fly south.
So we're going to have a lot to talk about next month, it sounds like. We got this transition to navigate.
We will, because coming up is all those birds that we see in the spring are going to be coming back through.
So exciting. Okay, well, folks, I just asked my question. Do you have a bird question for Mark? Right there on the screen, you've got all of his information. Go ahead, and Mark is very obliging. Send him a photo, etc. He will do his best to answer it. Mark, as always, it's been fun. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
And as always, Vermont, thank you for learning and exploring with me today, and thanks to the team that makes Across the Fence possible. I'm Amy Finley. This is Across the Fence. Come back and let's learn and explore again tomorrow.